watching Dontaesboxingnation.
Dontaesboxingnation, what's going on, guys? So Jaime Munguia is scheduled to fight Majes Saleski next, which is a good opponent. But did you guys know that Jaime Munguia was Demetrius Andrade's mandatory, and he turned down an opportunity to fight for a world title against Demetrius Andrade as a mandatory? Demetrius Andrade, he confirmed this in an interview that he did with Brian Custer. So my question is simply, what is going on with Mexico right now? I mean, just pay attention to the trend, guys. You got Ryan Garcia, who was Devin Haney's mandatory. Ryan, he decides to pull out of the mandatory spot. Now he's going to fight against Javier Fortuna in a title eliminator just to be in position to once again fight for Devin Haney's title. Does that make any sense at all? And what we're starting to find out is when it comes to these dangerous black fighters, it doesn't matter if the black fighter is the champion or the mandatory. These Mexican fighters in particular still don't want to fight them. Oscar Valdez, his mandatory when he was at 126 was Shakur Stevenson. Oscar Valdez, he said if he can't fight Carl Frampton at 126, he's going to move up in weight. So by him admitting that he was willing to fight other guys at 126 except for Shakur Stevenson, he made it very clear it had nothing to do with him no longer being able to make the weight. So he moves up to 120 to 130, and now once again he has Shakur Stevenson problems. And he still doesn't want to fight Shakur Stevenson. Then you have the king of Europe, Canelo Alvarez, who's on his European tour right now, refusing to fight any undefeated black fighters, refusing to fight any dangerous Mexican fighters. In fact, he took it even a step further. He's even refusing to fight styles that he deems as too difficult. He said he didn't want to fight Andrade because he did not like his style, which basically means if he can't change the difficulty mode to easy when he plays the video game, he's not going to play that game. Now understand this, guys. Of course, it's not just Mexican fighters that are avoiding the most dangerous black fighters in the world. But it surprises me because Mexican fighters, they have a reputation. They are very prideful people. Once again, you'll see people in the comment section saying, Mexico runs boxing, etc., etc. And when you go back and you look at the Julio Cesar Chavez's, the Eric Morales's, the Barrera, they were willing to fight anyone, no matter how good they were. That's not who these Mexican fighters are today. I would expect this more from a BJ Saunders avoiding Demetrius Andrade, even a Gennady Golovkin just avoiding everyone who's black. And I will say it was a little surprising when Lomachenko actually vacated his belt to avoid his mandatory Devin Haney. But outside of Lomachenko, I expect the majority of those fighters to avoid dangerous black competition. But it still surprises me that Mexicans are avoiding the most dangerous black fighters. I mean, it's gotten to the point, once again, when someone offers you a shot at their title, you're the mandatory, you still turn down a fight. It's getting to the point where a lot of these fighters are just conceding to black fighters, basically saying, well, you know what? Those black guys are the best. They're dangerous. Let me stay in my lane and just be the best at where I am. I have no problem being in second place. It's pretty ironic when you think about it because a lot of Mexican fans, they will fill up my comment section saying, oh man, you think these black fighters are so great, etc., etc. You praise them so much. But the funny thing is, it's not me praising these black fighters. It's other Mexican fighters that are praising these black fighters. Who does that? Who gets the mandatory spot? Who fights all the way to get to the number one spot and gives it up because they don't want to fight the champion? Who gives up their belt like Canelo Alvarez did, who gives up their belt because of who the #1 mandatory is. Who does that? That's the biggest praise you can give any fighter. That's the biggest compliment you can give any rival, is to say, I'm just going to hand you this belt. Did you guys hear what Canelo Alvarez's trainer said about Jermall Charlo? He said that Jermall Charlo is a spectacular fighter. He's tall, he's strong, and has a lot of skill. He is spectacular. Almost the same thing that Jose Benavidez Sr. said about Jermall Charlo. Do you guys really think it's a coincidence that all of these Mexican trainers are saying the same things about Jermall Charlo? Which is never close to anything that you'll hear a Mexican fan on the internet say. Jose Benavidez, he said that Charlo is a far more dangerous fight than a Canelo fight. Canelo is easy. He's straight up and down. He's just going to come in throwing those looping shots. He said that Canelo would be a much easier fight. The crazy thing is, once again, it pretty much sounds analogous to what Canelo's own trainer said about Jermall Charlo. So the truth comes out if you just wait for it. And for you fans that say, oh, well, Charlo, he turned down a Canelo Alvarez fight, I want you to think about what you're saying. Remember, Jermall Charlo was Canelo Alvarez's mandatory, right? So ask yourself this question. If the mandatory turned down an opportunity to fight the champion, how did Charlo end up with Canelo's belt? How did he end up with his belt? So you're telling me, according to your logic, they offered Charlo a fight, he turned it down, and they just said, you know what? Since Charlo doesn't want to fight for a title, we're just going to go ahead and give him the belt, right? Does that make any sense? Of course it doesn't. When have you ever heard of a #1 contender turning down a title shot, and because of it, he ends up with the champion's belt? In fact, we can use a perfect example when it comes to the Ryan Garcia-Devin Haney situation and the Jaime Munguia Andrade situation. If your logic made any sense, then that would mean right now, Ryan Garcia would have Devin Haney's belt and Jaime Munguia would have Demetrius Andrade's belt after they both turned down a shot at the champion's belt. Listen, man, I'm going to close out with saying this, and I'm going to keep saying this. If you're one of those Mexican fans in the comment section always saying Mexicans run boxing, etc., etc., you guys should be calling for your own Mexican fighters to fight all of these dangerous black fighters and everyone else who's not Mexican. Because that's what you do when you truly believe that Mexico is the best, Mexico runs boxing. You should be pushing way harder for these fights than anyone else who's not Mexican. But if you're one of those fans that deep down doesn't want to see one of your fighters go in there with some undefeated dangerous black fighter, then there's no reason for you to be sitting over here telling people Mexico is the best, Mexico runs boxing. Because I want to see all of the dangerous fights. I don't care how dangerous the fight is, right? When it comes to Jermall Charlo, I know he's going to be at a disadvantage if he has to move up and wait and fight David Benavidez. Even if he's going to lose, I still want to watch the fight. Because at the end of the day, I want to see who the best is. There's no guarantee Andrade or Charlo or Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson will win every single fight they have. But I'm going to always push for those fights because I'm a real boxing fan. And I want to know at the end of the day who the best is. I don't want to see any fighter protected just to keep an undefeated record when I'll be sitting back saying, man, I wonder if he would have beat this guy, that guy, or 10 other guys. So hopefully these Mexican fighters I talked about in this video will step up in competition and fight the most dangerous black guys in their division. Hopefully we will get to see Canelo versus Andrade or Charlo one day, even versus David Benavidez. Hopefully we will get to see Ryan Garcia soon. They're actually talking about that fight. I know Eddie Hearn, he's pushing hard for that fight. There are no type of roadblocks to stop that fight. That's the easiest fight that can be made, Ryan versus Devin, because they're both fighting on the zone, right? Hopefully we get Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson, or Shakur Stevenson versus Jojo Diaz, right? We'll see what happens. We'll see if they built that confidence up. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
Hi, this is Brittany Madison, and you're watching Dontaesboxingnation.
Okay, now blow.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Fellas, I've got some great news for you. If you've lost your hair or have a receding hairline, the time has come when you can finally get your hairline back through a process called scalp micropigmentation. So here's how it works. It's a hair tattoo that replicates the look of your hair follicles when you have fully shaved it down. So to get this hookup, make sure you follow and contact my man ScalpCarolinas on Instagram. Now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, then this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called Elo Deki Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to elodeki.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram.